Yes. 2 minutes. Okay, so we're kicking off now. It's go time. Hi everyone, good evening again. And like I mentioned, today is a different kind of session. It's not like the typical, you know, revenue role, come and learn tactical, technical things kind of session. It's a session where we're going to be feeding other parts of ourselves, right? Beyond our day-to-day at work. And today we don't have, the typical kind of instructor that would normally have on the call. Today we have Efe E. Efe E is a seasoned mental health counselor. And she has a very strong passion for empowering individuals, especially working people, to help you navigate the complexities of the working life. She's someone who strikes me as passionate, right? I feel like that's like what to use when it comes to helping people, working individuals live a very awesome life. When I initially listened to her, I just knew that, you know what, you have to come to my community and talk to other people like me, right? She has a blog for people that would want to connect with her afterwards. I'm gonna put a LinkedIn profile link in the chat section. I'm going to put other ways that you can reach her as well. She's going to be sharing her expertise on mental health, personal development today, and she's had extensive experience across various sectors, from FMCG to tech, and she's consistently helping people. Expertise is helping people overcome stress, overcome burnout, and other mental health challenges. While we still have this mental health thing here. Today, let's just focus on the fact that all of us, in fact, if you're in sales, you're in a mental health role. Because you're in a role that will test you mentally, that will test you emotionally, that will test your self-esteem, will test you in many ways, right? So you're in a high stress role, and this session was specially made for you. Hi Efe, how you doing today? Are you ready for us? Can you hear me?
Hi, City. Hi, everyone. So nice to be here. And thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you for that amazing introduction. I hope I live up to it. It's so nice to meet everyone. So I'll just quickly, can I go ahead and share my screen?
Yes, please. Floor is yours.
Okay. 1 second, please. Okay, so can everybody see my screen? Please let me know if you can, when you can see my screen.
Not yet. Yeah, it's coming up now. Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. So hello, everyone. So we're going to just jump right in. But before we do that, I like to do a little housekeeping before every meeting, right? First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Efe E. I like to go by my first name, so please just feel free to call me Efe E. I'd like us to collaborate a little bit on the house rules for this meeting. So if, like Titi said, I like it's an environment where we can all feel free to talk and collaborate and really dig into the issues, right? So the first assignment, so to speak, that I'd like us to all jump in on is to figure out the rules for this meeting. What is allowed, what is not, right? So I'm going to start. I think that we should have no phones, no devices around us. What do you guys think? Do you think that's a good rule for a meeting? Hi guys. No phones. Do we agree? Okay. Everybody's on mute. You can unmute and contribute. It's fine.
God, EDC said his device is his life.
Okay, so we can put it on vibrate. So the intention is that there are no distractions. We're just here for an hour. I know it's Monday. We're probably, just coming back home, with traffic and the stress of work. But it's just for an hour or so. So maybe put it on vibrate so you're not distracted, because there's a lot that's going to be going on here today, and I wouldn't want anybody to miss out. Okay. So do we agree on the phones on vibrate? Do we agree? Oh, good. I'm getting thumbs up. Thank you. So who else wants to come up with the next rule? The next rule for the meeting. Can someone please come up with the next rule for the meeting? We can have as much as maybe 4. Hi, guys.
I mean, if you want to say something, you can raise your hand, I guess.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
I was saying that you should raise your hand if you want to contribute or ask a question or something.
Okay. Okay, but Bola, do you have a rule to contribute to the meeting? Like something we should all put at the back of our minds? Are we all agree?
That's my rule now. If you want to say something, raise up your hand.
Oh, you want to say something? Raise your hand. Sorry. Thank you. Okay, so that's rule number 2. Put your phones on vibrate and raise your hand if you want to say something. Okay, 2 more.
We have one in the comment section.
Okay. Could you help me read it out, please?
Speak when called upon. That's from EDC.
Speak when called upon. I think that's a little bit, it's connected a little bit, raise your hand, but yeah, do we all agree on that? Unanimous?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have no dull moments.
Sorry?
No dull moments.
No dull moments. Okay. I'll try to keep it as exciting as possible. So I have one more, and this is of course optional, but as a way to connect, right? I want to ask guys, if Titi promises not to blast your faces all over YouTube, would you please indulge me by putting on your cameras? You can put a screen behind you. You can, put a filter or whatever, but it would really help us connect more if we could see our faces. Titi, do you promise not to blast our faces on YouTube? You just show the presentation and not you can show my face, is fine because I'm presenting, but not to blast everybody's face on YouTube. Is that possible?
Yeah, agreed. If that's what's gonna get everybody to lose.
Okay, so please can we turn off our cameras? You're not going to be on social media. You're not going to be on YouTube. You're not going to be on Instagram. This is just for us. It's a safe space. I am not recording, and Titi is recording just the presentation. So what do you guys think about that? It doesn't matter if you're lying down and you just go back from work. It's okay. It's just us.
Courage says it's still in keke, it's still flying keke, so give me a pass.
For those of us that are not still flying keke, can we do that, please?
At least,
But it's absolutely optional. But it'd be nice to put faces
can
to
you see
names and
mine?
connect, you know, to help with the connection.
Is that? No, we can't see yours. Is
Okay.
that?
Oh my god. I guess it's network anyway.
No, we can't see you yet.
Okay. So if you're able to, yes, if you're, I would really love to see your faces. Thank you, EDC. So nice to see your face. So nice to see your face. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's not waste any more time because we don't have a lot of it. Let's just start, right?
You're welcome.
So, yeah. So our theme today is thriving under pressure in revenue-focused roles. So yeah, that's in the theme, but this will generally just cover people that are in roles that are by design, you know, have a lot of pressure, you know, a lot of deadlines, a lot of, you know, drama, you know, involved, you know, so they are different from your everyday 9 to 5, you know, get to the office, sit down, send a few emails and you know, get back home and like, oh, I had such a day. There are jobs that actually task you, like what Titi said earlier, jobs that test you emotionally, test you mentally, and even physically. So that's why we're here today, because she told me that, you know, she is part of a community of, you know, like-minded people or people in similar roles. And she thought that you guys could benefit from, you know, something like this. And I am so excited, you know, to be able to do this with you today. So we'll just get started. Please let me know at any time if the screen lags or anything like that, okay? So let's jump into the content. First of all, we're going to, of course, have a brief introduction. Secondly, we're going to talk about high stress roles. What are high stress roles? Then we're going to talk about how high stress roles impact mental health. Then we'll talk about managing mental health in high stress environments. So we'll talk about how it affects you, and then we'll talk about how to manage, you know, the effect of working in such an environment. And then we're going to talk about the role of line managers, you know, in helping employees and people that work with them. What's their role in making sure that people are taking care of their mental health? Because there is a very important role that line managers really need to play in that area. And then after that, I will run through the presentation so that we'll have enough time at the end of it to ask questions, you know, make comments, observations, and maybe, if possible, share experiences, because this, like I said, this is, and like Titi said, this is a safe space. This is, you know, a space where we can be ourselves and really talk about what's bothering us. So, yeah, so let's move on. So in terms of introductions, I'm not going to dwell on that. I think Titi already did some sort of like introduction for myself, but she said she's going to send you, you know, links and things like that. So we're not going to dwell on that too much. But I'd like us to start a little bit with, oh, sorry, I forgot. For the rules we made, right? For the rules we made at the beginning of the session, we need a coordinator to enforce the rules. So it's not like anybody's going to get punished, but just somebody who will be like, okay, this person raised their hand, this person wants to ask a question or to read out comments or things like that. So is there anybody that wants to volunteer to do that? I'm going to be doing this a lot because this is a fully interactive session. So get ready. Nobody's going to be hiding under the shadows today. So does anybody want to volunteer to be our coordinator for the meeting? Oh, and fun fact, I have gifts for anyone who volunteers or asks a question or contributes, you know, in any way, shape, or form in the meeting. I have gifts for you. So that's an incentive. So if you want a gift, a really good gift, that's an incentive to do that. So who wants to? Nobody? Nobody wants a gift? It's odd. Okay, Titi, can you help us with that? Just help us generally coordinate the meeting, like questions, or someone's raising their hand, or maybe someone needs to mute their mic and things like that. Can you help us with that?
Sure, definitely.
I think we're a little bit shy. Don't worry, as the evening progresses, we'll get to know each other and loosen up a little bit. Okay? I am hopeful that we'll get to that point. Okay. So in terms of introduction, when we joined the meeting, Titi asked a very important question. I think for a few people that joined the meeting while she was on, she asked you, hey, how was your day? How was your Monday? How was your, how are you starting your week? And some people went into detail and said, oh, Monday was slow, or I had such and such a day and all that. And some people were like, oh, fine, it was okay, it was fine. So we're going to do that, but we're going to do it in a different way. And this is the practice. This is something that I practice, in my therapy, and also with friends and with family. And I will explain why later. I'll explain the benefit of this later. But it's something I call what sucked and what rocked for you today. So I just need 3 people to tell me your name, what you do, and what sucked, what rocked for you today. Just trust me on this. 1 minute. In 1 minute. Remember, gift. Let me dangle the gift. So who wants to go first? Okay, someone's raising their hand. Yeah.
Spending the time, everybody gets character. So what rocked for me today, I ticked off some important things, off my to-do list. Right, what sucks for me today is there's a particular, it's not a task, it's on my to-do list, but then I did move one step closer to a particular thing I'm supposed to achieve, towards the end of the day. Today didn't help me get closer to that. So that sucked. What was I ticked everything off my to-do list for today.
For today, that's amazing. That's huge. I'm sorry about what sucked for you. Does anybody else want to share what rocked and what sucked? So basically what I'm asking is, what was the high point and the low point of your day? Great, Anita, thank you. So Anita, 1 minute, please. Titi, please, you just help me take down the email addresses of the people that are raising their hands and participating so that we can send the gifts after the session, okay? So that's one of the jobs of the meeting coordinator. Thank you so much. Okay, so Anita, thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
For what rocked for me, I woke up late but got to the office on time. So that everything there wasn't any traffic. Yeah, everything was just smooth sailing. Like there wasn't any traffic. There was no red light stop. Like I was just everything was flowing. I got to the office on time, and I connected with I had a good connection or a good meeting with someone like that. Work out well in the near future. But yeah, I connected with someone good. So that rocked for me. But what sucked, I wasn't in the best the best of moods or best of health wise. I wasn't like feeling best today. So that sucked a bit, but that was it.
Okay, while we're waiting for Anita to Bola, please, can you share with us what's rocked?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, if you can hear.
Can you hear me?
What's in my network?
Yeah, but I think it's Efe.
Hi.
Yeah, it's Efe.
Sorry,
If you can hear us clearly.
I got caught up in it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. So Anita just finished sharing.
I think I missed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed the what sucks for her. I missed what sucks for her.
So she said she wasn't in the best of moods today, health-wise. That's all for her.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you very much for sharing. Bola. Hi, Bola. Please share with us.
Hello. Okay, so
Hi.
what worked for me today was the fact that I got feedback from a client that I'd been following up for such a long time. So, I mean, I was able to get some information from them on what the status of our conversation was. What talked was the fact that I was been meeting for like 4 hours today. I mean, that got me really, really tired. It was such a
Mhm.
long meeting. So I think that's what took. But everything else was okay.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for sharing. Okay, one more person, EDC. Thank you. Please share with us what rocks and what's up in less than a minute.
Okay. Good evening, all. So for me, I'm basically, I'm just say new in my job role, and what rocked for me today was the fact that uh, I was new. I was new in the kind of space that I'm in, sort of, and and I have gotten my clients, my prospective clients, get to get started with in no time. So I think that was what rocked my day, and
Mhm.
I'm surprised myself, and leveraging on the fact that I had um, leverage on the the power of my social network. That's
Mhm.
for one. Then what sucked? Okay, I have a whole lot on my table that I just need to make sure that I keep up with in order to be efficient in my dealings and deliver driven purpose-driven results to what I want to get. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so I'm going to share for 20 seconds. What's up for me today was my internet was rubbish. And it's usually good. And I was like, why today of all this? And it really got me stressed. So I had to start looking for backups. So right now I have like 3 backups, so in case one goes off, I switch to the next. So please bear with me if it's a bit spotty here and there. That's what sucked for me today. But what rocked for me today is today's my best friend's birthday, and she doesn't live in Nigeria. She lives outside the country. And we spoke for about 15 minutes, and we laughed and laughed till we almost split our sides. And I'm still on that high, from that call with her. So that's actually that's the highlight of my day today. So that's what rocked and what sucked for me today. So for all those that shared, thank you so much for sharing. Let's move right along. So high stress rules. We're going to talk about high stress rules. But before we do that, I know that we're all here because we're in high stress rules. But I just want to give us like a general picture of what high stress rules are generally and how they present themselves. Like, so I'm going to show us just short clips, of videos. And then after the videos, we will discuss. They're really short because I know we're short on time. So let's move to the first video. Please let me know if you can hear.
What are their names?
Thank you. Nathan Bates and Andrew Smith. Also, all those people are looking for people too.
I can feel a left femoral pulse.
Okay, let's get some more ONEG on standby.
Fields lost a lot of blood. We had to use a chainsaw to get that tree off of him.
Well, he didn't see it coming?
He did. He pushed Montgomery out of the way.
My badge was deactivated. I was definitely fired.
I'm sorry.
What?
It's a long story.
Oh, damn it.
That does not look good. He's got vascular compromise.
You gotta save his leg. His job's his life.
Okay, there's free fluid in his abdomen.
He needs an X-lap.
Okay, as long as his BP continues to hold, we can scan him.
Bailey, you said it yourself. Theo is family. You both need to step outside. We will update you, okay?
The hospital emergency coordinator wants to talk to you.
What, now?
It's about our pre-evacuation plan.
I'll be a few minutes.
Okay. All right, look, I'll take Ruiz. He needs surgery and you're short surgeons. Catherine can't blame me for saying.
The next one.
Fire department! Anyone in here? There's someone in the back! Let's go! Hey guys, over here!
We got him.
All companies, evacuate the building. Come on, Mills, let's go! gonna flash.
Is the guy still inside his armed? Chief, give me 1 more minute to go back in there.
No, it's over. No more minutes.
He could be alive. Just give me 1 more minute. I know I can get to him. I know.
Not going anywhere. This building's about to
Chief,
flash.
I can get...
Enough. Fire up the water cannons.
You didn't hold him? Yankee, where are you going? I want to get Yankee to report. Get him the hell out of here.
SA 41, clear to land. GA 950, punch it.
Someone knows something.
Sorry, please. There's a little profanity in the video. I couldn't blur it out, so I apologize in advance for the profanity.
All salespeople, listen up. I'm a buyer of pounds.
What the fuck are you doing?
Pinpoint is a buyer of cable. Any salesperson worth $2 gets me pounds. Get on the phones.
What are you doing?
Hey, Rush. What is he doing?
He's taken over my book. He's running an extra 300 million on it. I don't know what to do. He forced me.
What's your bid on 150 million Tudor?
Fuck it, I'm 80 bid.
80 bid. Yeah, done. I want to wait 80. Bruce, I have standing for you. I want to see your bid.
Stop trading now. Oh, fuck that. Yeah, speak. Eric, let me do my job.
Avatar wants your bid for 200.
30 bid on 9.
Yours, 200 on at 109.30.
How big is this position now?
Close to a full yard.
What? £1 billion, I'm calling security. Mine! Rishi, step away from your terminal. Mine. Look at the tape. Look at the tape. Chancellor revealed plans to reverse almost all provisions made in the budget, including top-rate tax. This is a full-scale rollback. Repeat, they've set fire to their plans.
Fuck. Sterling is rallying here.
It is gapping up. He's gapping up, buddy!
Oh my God! Talk about an emergency rate hike. The MPC are raising rates by 200 basis points.
You are fucking kidding me.
The biggest rise in UK interest rates in 27 years.
Sterling back through our level now.
We're in profit. I need to offload the position ASAP. Could someone get me out of this long, please? Any salesperson? I'm a seller up here. Double sales credits.
I have a buyer. Al-Mirage in size.
Yeah, any size like that.
Okay. What's your offer on the yard, Sterling?
Okay, are we still together? I just wanted to give us a picture of, high stress roles, and I'm tying it all together. I don't know if, from what you've seen, there's anything was familiar, if there were any, I know these are all dramatizations, but these are actually reflections of what people in high stress roles go through because of the tasks that they have to do every day. So, and I think, I just thought that, especially with the last video, seeing that, a lot of us here are in sales, are in tech, we'll be able to relate with, a few practical videos. So I'm going to tie it all together with high stress roles and their commonalities. So first of all, every high stress role, right? One thing that makes it stand out is that there's a need to make quick and impactful decisions, right? And sometimes this is with limited information, okay? There's also like the heavy workload. There's always a heavy workload, which includes tight deadlines, multiple projects, numerous responsibilities, right? There's also the emotional toll, emotional labor that it takes. You can see people screaming at the top of their voices, and these guys are at work, but they are, hyper vigilant. They are showing emotion because of the kind of work that they do. So high stress roles, they have emotional labor. It requires managing your emotions, whether it's with dealing with difficult clients or dealing with your colleagues or dealing with a project, deadlines and things like that. Another thing about high stress roles is the unpredictability. You can go to sleep, tonight, and tomorrow you get to office and something completely different is happening, something you never anticipated, something you didn't prepare for, So that is one of the traits of a high stress role. Also, there's a high level of accountability in a high stress role. Your actions and your decisions are scanned and viewed under a microscope, and this can add to stress, for people in high stress roles. They can also demand long hours. They can also have an impact on, people outside work, like your family. Your partner will feel the stress of your work. Your parents, your kids, if you have kids, will also feel the impact of the work and the impact it's having on you. So they usually bleed out of the work environment and bleed into our private lives. That's another feature of a high stress role. Also, most times for high stress roles, you work with limited resources. So this could be in terms of manpower, it could be in terms of money, budgets. But you have a small budget, but you're expected to produce this amazing thing on such a tiny budget. So that can be really, really stressful. And high stress roles also have a lot of interpersonal dynamics. If you recall the video of the doctors while they're trying to save lives, you see somebody who has his hands up to his wrist in somebody's guts and blood, and somebody somewhere is coming in to tell him about an admin issue. Somebody else is coming to tell him that, they think they've been fired. So you can understand the interpersonal dynamics it takes to handle all these things coming at you at the same time. Also, high stress roles always have high stakes. That's why there's so much stress. So if you're a doctor, you're saving lives. If you're a firefighter, you're saving lives, you're saving property. If you are an air traffic controller, it's literally your responsibility to prevent like a massive casualty event. You see the two planes that almost collided because the controller was distracted for like a minute. So there's always high stakes. And if you're in finance, you know that people people lose their livelihoods in 1 second in finance. If you're in sales, you could sell something to a client, and that thing, you sell something to a client, you receive payment for that thing, and you go home thinking that, I made a sale today, and the next day the client tells you, come and carry your thing, it's not working. So that's like those are traits of like a high stress role. So another common thing that people in high stress roles suffer from, or that people in high stress roles experience, is something that we call imposter syndrome. So that means that no matter how successful you are, no matter how good you are at your job, because there are so many things that are unpredictable about your job, you never quite feel that you're prepared. You never quite feel like you're good enough, because you tend to like count your failures instead of keeping track of your successes. So when you're in a high stress role that demands so much from you, it sort of like gives you imposter syndrome, because you're juggling so many balls in the air, and it gets to a point where you think that, I don't think I'm good enough for this job, because I'm letting so many things drop. I'm not good at this. This person told me this. I should have done this. So people in high stress roles suffer from imposter syndrome. Is quite common in that area. So that's just wanted to share some commonality. You may or may not identify with any of these things, but these are things that we will discuss, of course, at the end of the presentation. So let's move on to the impact, right? How do these similarities, how do these traits of high stress roles, how do they impact the people that carry out these functions? So first of all, there's a high rate of anxiety and depression in people that work in high stress environments, okay? A survey by the American Psychological Association found that 61% of adults feel anxious due to work stress and this is not in high stress roles. This is just in any job. 61% of adults. So if they were to do a study on high stress role, I'm sure that the percentage will be a lot higher. So that means that if there are 10 people in your team, 6 of them are anxious or are suffering from symptoms of anxiety. Okay. So prolonged stress can also lead to feelings of hopelessness and sadness, which is part of the imposter syndrome. You feel like, because there are so many things that you need to do, so many deliverables, and sometimes you might not deliver on all of them because, hey, you're human. You tend to feel a little bit helpless. You tend to feel like things are out of control. And for some people, that makes them really, really sad and really down. And those things, sadness and hopelessness, are two very common traits in depression. Okay, so when someone is exposed to prolonged stress, and it can contribute to these feelings, and of course, that can lead to a diagnosis of depression. Secondly is burnout. Okay, so burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion. Like you're tired to your bone all the time. That's burnout. No matter how much you rest, sleep, go on leave for 2 days or a week and come back, you are still tired to your bone. Okay, that is burnout. And it can reduce, your outlook, it can reduce your motivation, it can reduce how you even see your job. So burnout is another impact of high stress roles. Then, of course, there's the impact on physical health. There's another study that says that people in high stress jobs are 50% more likely to develop chronic health conditions like high blood pressure and heart disease. Okay, so when someone is in a high stress role and they don't manage these stressors, and they just, they are constantly in that environment where they are on high alert and they are stressed, there's a 50% chance that they could develop very serious physical conditions, not just mental, now physical conditions like that, heart disease, and high blood pressure. Okay, and then we have a cognitive impairment. So this has to do with decision making, memory, and challenges with performing in your job. Some people be like, oh, I'm not as sharp as I used to be. I'm not as I used to come up with the best ideas during meetings. I used to bring during our brainstorming sessions, I was always the one with the most ideas. But all of a sudden, I'm just like, it's not coming to me like the way it used to. And some people are like, oh, maybe I'm getting old. Oh, maybe I'm now. Maybe I'm there. And they brush it aside with so many excuses. But it's actually an impact of being in a high stress role. It can be contributed to being stressed. Okay, so cognitive impairment is a very real thing for people in high stress roles. And of course, for the organization, there's a problem of turnover rates. So you have a company that, they spend time, they spend resources, hiring the best people, going through the selection process and hiring the best people. And these people come into the company, and after a few months or a couple of years, they burn out. So as HR is hiring through the front door, they are leaving from burnout, anxiety, and stress and depression through the back door. So it's like a revolving door of always having people come in, and looking at the big picture in the long term, that's not good for any business. You want to hire the best people, but at the same time, you want to retain the best people. So an impact of a high stress environment is maybe some of you may have experienced this in your companies or where you work. High turnover rates because of the stress of the job. It's because it's a high stress role. And finally, there's unhealthy coping mechanisms. For people in high stress role, there is a very high probability that they will engage in unhealthy coping mechanisms. This could be in form of alcohol, excessive consumption of alcohol, of recreational drugs. It could be in form of eating habits, like eating unhealthy food. Some people call it comfort eating or comfort food or stress eating. It's all the same thing. It's a coping mechanism, for people that are in high stress roles. And this can lead to health issues, physical health issues as well. There's also a newish kind of coping mechanism, which I'll use the phrase that, might be familiar with you, doom scrolling, where we consume excessive amounts of social media content. So imagine someone who just gets back from work, you haven't even taken off your shoes, you just dropped your laptop bag, you plop yourself on your bed, you pick up your phone, go to your favorite social media outlet or whatever you call it, and then you start scrolling and swiping. And before you know it, you're doing that for an hour. Okay, so it's called doom scrolling. That is an unhealthy coping mechanism. What you're trying to do in the short term is you're trying to dissociate yourself from the day you just had. You're trying to forget the stressful day you just had, but you're replacing it with an unhealthy coping mechanism, which is just mindlessly scrolling through social media instead of like looking at yourself to take care of yourself and to sort of like rejig yourself, so that you can get ready for the next day. So that is also an unhealthy coping mechanism. So moving straight on. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the signs and the symptoms. So we've seen all these, we've seen the impacts. Now let's talk about the signs and the symptoms. That means, how do you recognize the impacts? How do you know that you're being affected by these, traits or characteristics of a high stress role? First of all, in your emotional responses. Emotionally, you'll be affected in that you become irritable. Like, look, some people say, look, don't even talk to me till I've had my morning coffee. And then it comes to, don't even talk to me till I'm done with my meeting. Like, nobody should come into you're grouchy, you're irritable, you have mood swings. 1 minute you're laughing with everybody in the office, the next minute you're locked yourself in your little cubicle or your office, and you are just not having any contact with anyone. So irritability and mood swings is a sign of, stress. It could be a sign of stress in you because of your role. You could also feel an overwhelming sense of sadness. You are in the office and you're just like, man, I don't even know what I'm doing here anymore. You're just sad. You don't know why you're sad. You're just sad, and you feel helpless or hopeless. Like, this place or where I am, I don't think I can get out of it. That sense of like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. It is as a result of stress. Secondly, there's a cognitive. We've mentioned cognitive before. Difficulty concentrating, difficulty making decisions, forgetfulness. You used to be as sharp as a tick before, but now it's like you have to really think before you get even a passable idea. Memory problems. You can't remember facts. You can't remember figures, and your thoughts are racing. Like my son would say, "Oh, it's like there are 20 tabs in your head. You're trying to close 5 and 20 more open up." You can't make sense. There's this chaos in your head. You can't really make sense of what's happening in your mind. It's like everything is jumbled up. Those are cognitive signs of stress. Then there's the physical signs. We've talked about the chances of developing high blood pressure and heart disease. But there are also I would say little signs like unexplainable headaches. You've been taking painkillers for 3 days where you always wake up with a headache, or your head is constantly banging and you can't explain why. Or you're always you have low energy, you're always tired, like, I don't have strength, Or even if you've rested, even if you've slept, you are still tired. Muscle tension, your neck, your back, your waist, your leg. You can't explain why you're feeling all these pains. Then things like that. Then changes in appetite, so that you stopped eating or you are eating an excessive amount. So these are signs to look out for, signs of stress. And there's also behavioral. So behavioral has to do with, let's say, for example, on Friday nights or Friday evenings, or let's say Saturday mornings, you usually go out and you plan something with your friends. Like, this is now outside work. You usually plan something with your friends. Oh, let's go to the movies. Let's go to the beach. Let's go to Terra Culture. Or this week we're going to go here. We're going to try the fish here. We're going to try the chicken here. And all of a sudden, you're not down with that anymore. Your social battery is depleted. Like, you don't want to leave the house. That's a sign. That's your mind reacting to stress. That is your mind reacting to stress. You don't want to leave the house. You don't want to connect with people that you usually connect with. Family events and family functions are like, they're like work now, everything is just blah, everything is off. So yeah, so that's behavioral. Then another very important sign is sleep. You can't sleep, or you're sleeping too much. Is it that you can't sleep or you're sleeping too much? So those are some of the signs and symptoms, that the ways that stress can manifest in our minds and our bodies. Okay, so but it's not all gloom and doom. Okay, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and we're getting there. So we're going to discuss coping skills. Now that maybe now as I've been sharing with you, probably recognize 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 things that you've noticed about happening to you. So maybe 1 or 2 things have resonated with you, and you are definitely there are things that you've been doing to cope. So now I'm back to you guys. Can 3 people just share with me what coping skills you apply? If you've recognized any of these signs and symptoms, are there any coping skills that you can share with us that you are currently using to manage how stress is showing up? Hi guys, are we still together?
Yes, so we have some forms here. Is it okay if you read from the forms?
Yeah, okay, so let's just have 3, because of time.
Okay. Okay. Someone said the most stressful part of their jobs, the sales process, the person, and then they said the current coping strategy is to sleep, to eat out, and then to see movies.
Okay.
And another person said they work in a fast-paced environment. However, the way they cope is traveling. Unfortunately, they've not been able to afford that lately, thanks to their money.
Okay.
Yeah, and then another person said, okay. So another person said, exercise. That's how they get through. That's how they get through the day. And then the last person, and he said 3, they cope by keeping meetings short. And on the agenda, on getting the agenda for the meeting, and delegate paperwork to others.
Okay. Wow, thank you. That's so encouraging. We seem to be on the right track. And EDC said he listens to jazz music. That's a good one, jazz music. I like that. So yeah, okay, I divide my task into smaller bits, rewarding activity afterwards. Passive, thank you so much. That's a very good one as well. That's a very good one. Yeah. So we have an idea of what coping skills are. So there are different kinds of coping skills for the different signs and symptoms that we discussed in the previous slide, okay? So for cognitive coping skills, we have cognitive restructuring, we have mindfulness, and we have time management. So for cognitive restructuring, it's a mental process that we use in therapy, right? Basically what it does is that it helps people change negative and unhelpful thoughts into more positive and realistic thoughts. So for example, if somebody says, so it's like your brain updating its software, so let's say for example, is your mind tells you that, oh, I always mess up. They're giving me this task and I know I'm going to mess it up. So that's what your mind is telling you. So if you want to apply cognitive restructuring here, what you do is to identify the thoughts and say, oh, this is a negative thought, right? And then you challenge the thoughts. You challenge the validity of that thought. And how do you do that? You apply something positive into the mix. Be like, hey, I'm good at my job. That's why I'm here, right? And I have had so many successes in roles that are similar to this, or in performing tasks that are similar to this. Just the other day, I did A, B, C, and D, right? So there is no reason why I should think that I will be up to this task. Okay, so when your mind is telling you, I'll never meet this deadline, you change your perspective. You ask yourself, is this really true? As in, is it true that I won't meet this deadline? I've met deadlines before, so there's no reason why I shouldn't meet this deadline. And then you say, I've met deadlines before, I'm going to meet this deadline. There's no reason for me to think that I cannot do this. So what you're doing is that you're just your mind is telling you something different, and you are replying and saying, no, this is not facts. Okay? Now, what this does is that it will improve your mood. It will change your perspective. So that feeling of, oh, hopelessness and helplessness or things being out of control, you are taking the control back by telling your mind, because not everything most things that your mind tells you is just sort of like a reaction of your environment, okay? It's not fact. It's not true. Because if you go to someone else and tell them, oh, I have this project and I am going to, tell them matter of factly, I am going to miss this deadline or I am going to mess this up. I bet if it's somebody that works with you, that knows you, that is a friend, or even somebody that is just professionally, a professional acquaintance, the person will immediately counter it and say, oh no, that's not true. You can do this. Is that just a show of hands? If you go to someone and tell the person that, oh, I can't meet this deadline or I can't do this, chances are the person will tell you, oh, that's not true, you can. That is a different perspective. Yeah, that is a different perspective. So you're tricking your mind, not really tricking, but you're telling your mind that this is not the only perspective that exists. And this perspective that you are presenting to me is affecting my mood, is affecting my state of mind, is affecting my mental health. So I choose to look at it from another perspective so that I can improve my mood, I can improve my state of mind, and I can get on with this task. That's basically cognitive restructuring in a nutshell. We do it in therapy. We use it for people with anxiety, for people with depression, and for people that are, that are going through stress, like stress. Okay, so it's something to have in your toolkit. It's very effective, if you practice it, because our mind is always telling us things that are not true. So it's good to catch those thoughts and counter them immediately so that they don't get you down. So moving swiftly on to, it has helped me a lot to power. Oh yes, it helps with panic attacks. It helps with anxiety attacks, right? Like I have a client who, while we first started therapy, she told me that whenever her phone rings, her heart starts palpitating. At first, it started with her boss. Whenever her boss calls her or sends her a message or even an email, once she hears the ding of the email or the text message, she starts hyperventilating because she doesn't know what to expect. She doesn't know what's going to happen next. She doesn't know what they're going to tell her, And then when she uses cognitive restructuring, it goes like, you don't even know what's in the email, Why do you, don't immediately go to the negative. What if somebody's sending you an email just to remind you of something? They're probably sending you an email just to collaborate on a project. They're probably sending you an email just to give you an additional task to do or to give you clarity on a task. It's not every time that somebody sends you an email that there's fire on the mountain, okay? So when you counter these negative thoughts, it helps bring down, if you have anxiety, it helps bring down your anxiety. It helps, it helps elevate your mood, and it's just a change of perspective, changing your perspective, changing how you look at things. I had to change my email alerts because of anxiety attacks. Got you. I totally get where you're coming from. I totally get that. So try cognitive restructuring. Another thing you can try is mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is being present in the moment. A lot of reason, a big reason why people have anxiety attacks is because they are either reliving the past or they are jumping into the future. Now, neither of those two places you can't control. You can't control the past. The past has happened. And you can't control the future. You don't even know what's there. The only thing you have control of is right now. So that is mindfulness. Mindfulness is staying in the present. And there are some grounding techniques that help you achieve mindfulness. Like if you feel that your mind is racing and your head, you can't just calm your head down. Go to a quiet place. You could be in the bathroom. You could be, if you have your own office, shut the door. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Breathe in through your nose. Breathe out through your mouth. Just keep doing that and don't think of anything. Just clear your mind. Just keep deep breathing and clear your mind. That is one. There are tons of mindfulness techniques, but we don't have time to go into that. But the only thing you should remember is that it's very important to stay in the present. Don't think about the past. Oh, yesterday my boss called me off. He's calling me again. And my mind is always in the future. Yeah. So that's it. You become anxious because you can't control the future. Anxiousness comes or anxiety comes when we feel that we have no control. Okay. So when you decide that, I can't control the future, let the future be there. I am coming. The only thing I can control is now. The only thing I can see, taste, touch, smell, and feel is right now what's in front of me, my laptop, my phone. That's what's in front of me right now. I can only focus on what is right in front of me. That will help you calm any feelings of anxiety, but it does take practice. It takes a lot of practice. So it's something that you need to remind yourself to do whenever you start feeling anxious, okay? So, of course, there's time management. Someone said, I think about coping skills, somebody already mentioned time management. We all know what time management is. We work in offices. Time management is not just a thing that you encounter in psychology. You also encounter it in project management. You encounter it generally in the workspace. Time management. So we know basically is you prioritize your task. You do this, make time for this. Like, for example, when I used to work 9 to 5 in an office, when I got to the office, I would spend the first 2 hours just replying emails. I would not take any meetings. I would not take any calls. I would not, because I used to get a ton of emails. I would not take any meetings. I would not take any more. I'll just block 2 hours, the first 2 hours of my day, just replying emails. And once I am done with that, any email that comes is for later. And then I move to meetings. So I will structure my meetings between maybe 11 and 1. Blocks of time for different things. That way, everything doesn't get jumbled up. Oh, you're replying this email. Oh, you have this meeting. Oh, you have this, you have that. All these things contribute to stress. So managing your time is a really good way to, is a really good cognitive technique, for the coping skill for managing stress. I just want to chime in here in terms of time management. Some people might think that, but I have so many things to do. If I only block time for emails, other things will suffer. I can do emails, and then as I'm answering the emails, I'll be taking calls. So I just want to introduce to you something that I call the multitasking myth, right? A lot of experts, and I am inclined to agree with them, believe that multitasking is a myth. Because when it comes to effectively, the operative word being effectively, when it comes to effectively managing tasks and maintaining focus, multitasking is a myth. First reason, your cognitive abilities are limited when you're trying to multitask, right? The brain is not designed to handle multiple tasks at the same time. So instead, you can switch from one task to the other. So for every task you're doing, you're giving it your full attention. So at the end of the day, when you present that project or you send that email, there are no mistakes, there are no errors, because you are fully committed to completing that task within that chunk of time. So when you try to do so many things at the same time, the brain is not designed to juggle things like that. That's when you have errors. That's when you have mistakes. That's when you end emails with lots of love instead of yours sincerely, because you are thinking of something else, in an official email, by the way. So that happened to someone I know. So yes, and secondly, it decreases your productivity. It decreases your productivity when you're trying to juggle so many things at the same time. It increases your stress. It affects your memory. So time management is actually a good way to go, okay? Time management is actually a good way to go. So let's move on quickly to, sorry, I'm going a bit fast because I want us to ask questions at the end of the session, but we're getting there. Emotional regulation. So emotional regulation, some of the coping skills we can apply is self-awareness, emotional expression, and relaxation techniques. Self-awareness or emotional intelligence, it helps you identify what you're feeling in the moment. You can also link that to mindfulness, okay? So the thing is, sometimes you have to sit with your feelings. If you're upset, sometimes you're angry, you don't know why. You don't know why. It's when you sit down and think about it, that's when you realize that, 2 hours ago, someone told me something that I didn't like, and it didn't click. I got angry, but it didn't click that was what made me angry. It's now it's clicking that thing that person said, the person was wrong, So you've been angry, but you don't really know why so that's why sometimes it's good to sit with your feelings. Like if you're feeling some type of way, just spare a few minutes and just sit down, okay, I feel upset. It's like, did someone piss me off? Did someone say something that they didn't really agree? Did someone cross a boundary? that I wasn't aware of at the time. Sit with it, try to recognize what it is. Because if you don't, you're going to express it in a way that is undesirable. Okay, you're going to express it in a way that you never intended to express it. That's why it's good to sit with it and identify exactly what it is that has been ticking at you, scratching at you. Okay, so that's self-awareness. Self-awareness also, okay, as a, okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good as well. Self-awareness also means understanding your triggers, okay? Understanding what triggers your anger, understanding what crosses your boundary, understanding how you respond to when someone crosses your boundary, okay? So that's also what emotional regulation is about. Because when you understand how you react to things, then you know how to react to these things when they happen. So your reaction is not knee-jerk. Your reaction is not just coming out of the blue. You already know how you would typically react, and you have time to assess that reaction. You say that, oh, this is not something I should say or do. I know that this is what I would typically say, but in this situation, let me rephrase, you know, and say what I need to say respectfully, so that after I say it, we can still move on and still be colleagues. So understanding your triggers is also a way of, is an emotional regulation skill. And of course, the relaxation techniques. I've talked about, sorry, just consulting my notes here. Relaxation techniques. 1 minute, okay. So self-awareness. And now when it comes to emotional expression, I want to take what we started with in the beginning, which was what sucked and what rocked for you. I told you that this is something that I do with I even do it with my kids. You know, when they get back from school, if it's when it's bedtime, just before they go to bed, like, okay, how was school? Tell me what rocked and what sucked for you. Why this is important? Like, you get to express what happens during the day, and you get to put them in the boxes that they be like, okay, this I didn't really like, and this really made me smile, okay? Because it gives you an opportunity to sort of like open up. Because if you don't open up, it festers. If you don't talk to someone about it, it festers. So I would encourage that if you have someone at home, a partner, a brother, a sister, someone that you can just spend 5 minutes, tell them what rocked and sucked for you, and they will tell you what rocked and sucked for them. They might not give you advice. They might not solve the issue. They might not, you know, make the thing that sucks unsuck, right? But just the fact that you were able to express it, you know, there are a whole lot of benefits, to that. So, of course, relaxation techniques. The mindfulness exercise is also a kind of relaxation technique. So let's move to behavioral. Prioritize sleep. Sleep hygiene is really important. And sleep hygiene is not just about how you sleep. It's also about where you sleep. I'm very passionate about sleep hygiene. I always encourage people that and tell them that where you sleep, you know, should be a place where it's like, that's your mini palace. That's what I tell people. Where you sleep is your mini palace. Some people have all sorts of gadgets and machineries. Some people have refrigerators. Some people have big screen TVs in their bedrooms. You know, some people have books and clothes and things thrown all over the place. All these things affect how we sleep. You know, clean sheets, ventilation. It doesn't have to be so fancy. You don't have to put all the fancy gadgets there. Ventilation, clean sheets, space. You know, space, not cluttered, not, you know, filled with all sorts of things. Your bedroom shouldn't be your storage area, right? Because it encourages you to get a good night's rest. So sleep hygiene, I can't go into all the aspects of sleep hygiene, but sleep hygiene is very important. Then for behavioral, setting boundaries, right? Learning to say no to additional responsibilities. I know that might be a problem in some areas, but you should, when you feel out of control, you should learn to advocate for yourself and make an attempt to take control of your work. So let me try and explain that. You have a boss who keeps dumping tasks, jobs on you. Do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. Oh, but you just, before you finish saying, but you just gave me, do it, just do it. You know, you can say no. And how can you say no? By advocating for yourself. Can I have 5 minutes to just discuss with you the parameters of my role? It won't take long. I just need us to agree on, you know, the parameters of my role, on your expectations, on my deliverables, on my timelines and on my deadlines, you know, the amount of work that should be on my table and all that. You're having a discussion, right? But in that discussion, you are advocating for yourself. So you are saying no, but is Oga, you know, you can't just say, Oga, I'm not doing. But you're advocating for yourself, and you move, and during that conversation, your boss also wants you to do well, right? Like, you want me to do well, you want me to deliver on this task. For me to be able to do that, right? I don't know if you know where I'm going with this. For me to be able to do that, I need setting A, B, C, D, and E. So advocate for yourself. That's a way of setting boundaries. And then there's social support. Somebody mentioned that they go out with their friends. That is a very good example of social support. Don't neglect the people outside work that make up your social circle. This could be your friends, your family members, old schoolmates, people that you hang out with that have nothing to do with work, because you do need a life outside work. So to have a life outside work, you have to build a social support network. So that means someone that you can send a text message to when things are tough. The person might not necessarily understand what you do or understand, you know, what your work involves, but just someone you can express yourself to emotionally, right? What rocked and what sucked. Okay, so we'll go to organizational strategies. Workplace organization. For those of us that have workstations and desks, how's your workstation? How's your desk? Do you have like files and stuff just all over the place? A lot of companies have clean desk policies. It's for a reason. It's for a lot of reasons, but there are also mental health reasons behind it. Keep a tidy workspace. If your workspace is your computer, what does your desktop look like? Are your files organized? Are they categorized so that you can easily find, you know, what you're looking for? All these things contribute to your productivity. Keeping a clean workspace, no matter what that workspace looks like, okay? Then delegate tasks. You can't do it all. You can't do everything yourself. You are human. There is a limit to what you can do. So sometimes you can strike a bargain with a colleague and say, oh, this is the A part of the job. Can I just do this today? Can you just do B today? Let me focus on A. Then tomorrow we can switch. You know, learn to advocate yourself, not just with your boss, but also with your colleagues. Like, man, this is really going to be a lot for me. Don't worry, do this for me. I will do this for you. So you can delegate tasks to other people. You don't have to do everything yourself. So you find the areas where you can ask people to collaborate with you on tasks so that they can help you carry the load. And of course, seek support, seek help. If you need help, ask for help. If the work is too much, advocate for yourself. Tell your boss, I'm finding it difficult to cope. I'm going to need support on this, okay? Nobody is going to fire you because you ask for help, okay? You just need to learn how to advocate for yourself and do it. So moving swiftly on. Some things that are also helpful to know. I think I may have mentioned some of them. Learn to say no, take breaks, practice self-care. We'll discuss a little bit about that later. Celebrate successes. Celebrate successes will help you with your cognitive restructuring, because every time you celebrate a success, no matter how small it is, you're creating pathways in your brain. You will always remember that you did something that was worth celebrating, no matter how small that success is. So that the next time your mind comes to tell you you can't do this, remember that time you celebrated that success. Did you do it? I did it. You have something to counter that negative thought. So that's why it's important to celebrate your successes. Then, of course, seek professional help if needed. If you feel that you're not coping very well, if you feel like you need, you know, more information on how to develop all these coping strategies, or the ones that you currently have are not working, please feel free to reach out to a therapist, get a one-on-one with someone who is qualified to help you, you know, navigate some of these things. So we'll talk about creating a stress management plan. The first thing to do is to identify your stressors. Is it emotional? Is it cognitive? Is it behavioral? You know, how is it affecting you? Just try and identify your stressors. How is it showing up for you? Is it physical? Do you have aches and pains? Identify your stressors. The next thing is to assess your current coping mechanisms, right? So for example, if your workload is what is causing you stress, if your workload is what is causing you stress, your vacation is not like a coping mechanism that can help you with that. Going on vacation or taking a break or going on leave is not something that will necessarily help you if your problem is your workload. What will help you is self-advocacy, talking to your boss to reassess how your work is managed, how your work is assessed. You know, I don't know if you understand. So make sure that you're using the right coping mechanism for the right kind of stress, because self-care is not a coverall for all kinds of stress. Okay, for all kinds of stressors. Self-care is not, I know that we throw self-care around a lot, but sometimes it goes beyond that. Self-care is good, don't get me wrong, but it goes beyond that. So that's why you have to identify and assess if you are applying the right coping strategy for that stressor, okay? The next thing is to choose the effective stress management technique. If you've identified that you're not using the right one, choose the right one, okay? So if it's social support, if it's create social support, I need to call my friends more, I need to plan more dates outside work or more activities outside work so that I can strengthen my social support. You know, identifying your stressors, of course, is key to doing this. Then you now develop a personalized action plan based on the kind of stressors that you are encountering. And then you seek support and accountability. This is very important because applying these skills, it takes you being deliberate. It takes you being, consistent. You can't just do it one day and then give up, because you're in a high stress environment. So these stressors are most likely going to keep coming up, although you have strategies to manage it. So sometimes you might just give up and be like, I've tried. That's why you need to seek support. You need to seek accountability. You tell someone, I have this new personalized action plan for my stress. You share it with someone. Remember, sharing your emotional needs with someone or sharing your emotional self with someone. So that's someone you tell them, I have this plan. I'm going to be doing A, B, C, D, and E now. Please just nudge me if you see that I am, not doing what I said I was going to do, because I need to, bring my stress down. I need to manage my stress better. So get someone that you can be accountable to. That's why a social circle is also important. Having friends around that support you is also very important. You can share these things with them and they will help you achieve them. Okay, so now we'll get to mental health promotion, the role of managers. I don't know, are there any managers in the house? You manage people? Show of hands, any managers in the house? Nobody? No manager? Okay, so we have a manager in the house. Okay, so this one is for you, managers. Don't worry, it's not, I'm not going to bash you. I'm not going to bash you. So the first thing is to create how you can help your employees. And even if we don't have a lot of managers in the house, we all aspire to be managers, right? So this is something that everybody should know, not just people that are managers right now, because we all aspire. We're not going to be where we are forever. We're going to move on. So this is something important that we all need to know. So the first thing is to create a supportive workplace culture. Now, how do we do that? Open communication. Okay, mental health shouldn't be a taboo topic in the office. It shouldn't be something that people whisper about. It should be something that is discussed openly. And as a manager, it should be your responsibility to champion these discussions, to bring up these discussions. Tell them how you manage your stress, so they know that you are also stressed, that you are not a superhero that does it all. It's okay to admit that, so that they can also, so the people that are behind you, people that work with you and for you, will know that they are not alone, okay? So create a supportive work culture, open communication, share your personal experiences as much as as you can. Another way to create a supportive culture is to encourage flexible working arrangements. We have technology now. People don't have to come to the office every day. And that's the truth. Studies have shown that companies are doing very well with partial remote work or fully remote, or employees are fully remote. So explore flexible work arrangements. If you need people to come into the office, maybe because you need to physically meet once or twice a week, that's fine. Like, okay, Wednesday, half day in the office, come in at 8, you leave at 12. Or every other day, work from home. We'll have catch-up meetings. We'll have a platform where we can all collaborate online. There's so many options when it comes to technology now that can make these kinds of things possible. And it goes a long, long way in helping the people that work for you feel valued, feel like you're listening to them, feel like you care about what happens to them, okay? And when people feel that you care, they will care, right? They will care for your business. They will take care of your business. Whatever task you give to them, they will do because they know that they have a supportive employer, they work for a supportive company, and there's a culture in the workplace that supports, mental health, maintaining mental health or improving mental health. The second thing is to recognize neurodivergent members of staff. So neurodiversity has to do with like a group of people that, let's say, that have conditions like ADHD, attention deficit disorders, or they are maybe on the autism scale, maybe very low on the autism scale, or they have dyslexia. These are conditions that they don't necessarily affect the person's productivity. They don't. These are normal people. Sorry to use that word, but these are people just like you and me. It's just that they might have some, conditions, that make them a little bit different from what we see as the norm. Okay, for example, we can say neurodivergent people have different communication styles. Okay, they might be more direct. They don't beat about the bush. They don't like small talk, right? They don't know, how are you? How was your day? No. They come straight to you and they tell you what they want to say. The person is not rude, probably just neurodivergent. And that it is not a disease. That person is also has the capacity to be very productive if you know where they are coming from and how to manage and handle them, right? So for people who are not really conversant with these kinds of personalities in the workplace, it's very easy to push these people aside and see them as different, or see them as, oh, this one doesn't play like others, this one doesn't, he's probably just neurodivergent, and there's nothing wrong with that. It would help to understand, I'm not saying go and diagnose, you can't diagnose neurodivergent people, but there are signs that you can look out for, like their style of communication, right? They might be more direct. Some might not like to attend meetings. They don't like meetings because they feel overwhelmed when there are so many people in a room or so many voices, everybody wants to talk. They switch off. That's a neurodivergent person. They prefer to send emails. I'm sure you've seen the meme like, oh, this could have been an email. I'm sure that meme was brought up by a neurodivergent person because they don't really like, places where they have to be put on the spot. Oh, what do you think? So understanding that you have somebody like that in your team and knowing how to treat that person will bring the best out of that person. That person can be as productive as any other person on the team. You just need to recognize that this person is slightly different and know how to manage them. So if they like emails, receive their emails. They are doing their job. If they don't make small talk, they just come and say, good morning, boss, I did the thing, bye-bye. Accept it. Did they do the thing? Yes. Okay. Don't paint everybody with the same brush, is what I'm trying to say. Neurodivergent people have unique problem-solving approaches. They approach things differently. Their perspective is always different. So it's good to recognize that. Some of them can also be hyper-focused. So they can be so focused on a task that for some people, they might be able to, I talked about multitasking not being a myth, but some people do it, and deliver whatever subpar work they can deliver based on their multitasking skills. But for neurodivergent people, some of them, you can't ask them to do two things. They cannot do two things. Just give them that one thing and watch them shine, watch them excel, watch them blow you away with that one thing that you ask them to do. You know, so these are ways that you can get them. Then there's also the physical attributes of some neurodivergent people. Some people talk to you and they can't look you in the eye. They can't make eye contact with you. Some people say, oh, he's shy, or oh, what's wrong with this one? Nothing is wrong with him. It's a sensory issue, you know. Some people don't like bright lights, okay? Some people don't like noise. You know, when the office is noisy, they get upset. You know, it's a sensory issue. So these are things that we can look out for in our team to help manage mental health issues that might come up. And then there's developing psychological first aid. This is not just for managers. This is for everyone. So psychological first aid is just applying active listening and empathy. So, you know, like for normal first aid, you have somebody has a cut on their hand or they fell and they're bleeding somewhere. You get the first aid kit, you clean the wound, you put a band-aid. Then if it's something that needs stitches or something that is too much for, or that goes beyond what first aid can handle, then you can send the person to the hospital. That's normal first aid, right? Psychological first aid is like that, is just that nobody is hurt and nobody's physically hurt and there's no blood. So I'll give you an example. Somebody comes into the office and starts shouting, like they're just shouting. That's an emotional response. Something has triggered that person. That is an emotional response. The person is shouting at the top of their voice. As a manager or as anybody that wants to diffuse the situation, how you apply psychological first aid, a good example of this is to invite them into a private space. Oh, just come with me, just come with me. Invite them into a private space, have them sit down, give them a bottle of water, ask them to open it. That's just one example. Now, why are you doing that? Giving them that bottle of water and asking them to open it is a grounding technique. You are forcing them to engage in a normal physical task, right? Anybody can open a bottle of water, but you have now shifted their focus from shouting or whatever emotional response they're having to focusing on opening that bottle of water. So that's a grounding technique. Then physical comfort, hydration. You just give the person water. Water hydrates you. It reduces your physical discomfort, right? And it reduces the emotional intensity of what you're going through. And then there's social connection. You just call them out of, you know, the public spectacle that was happening, and you connected with them on an emotional level. Like, you don't even have to ask them what's going on. You don't even have to ask them why they are shouting. The fact that you've removed them from that environment, giving them a task to do, drink water, calm yourself down, that's part of psychological first aid. Now you can say, I'm here if you want to talk. If you want to say anything, if there's anything you want to explain to me. Of course, when the person has calmed down, you can explain it to me and I'll listen, I will not judge. I am here if you want to say anything to me, okay? So what you're doing is that you're creating a cognitive shift from the source of that offense or that anger to something else. That is how you apply psychological first aid. That's one of the things that you can do to apply psychological first aid. It goes a lot deeper, but we don't have time to get into it today. And of course, as a manager, you should set realistic expectations and workload management. I don't think I need to explain that. Then promote work-life balance. I always tell people that managers that the best way to promote work-life balance is to show that you are also striving to achieve work-life balance. So what that means is that you don't tell everybody to go home and then you stay in the office till 12 midnight. Walk the walk. Don't just talk the talk, okay? If you're stressed, admit to your guys that you're stressed. Guys, this is really stressing me out. I think we need to take 30 minutes, or I think we need to take a day, sleep on it, come back and face it with, with fresh eyes tomorrow. That's you signaling to your team that you are stressed. So like, oh, boss is stressed, then it's okay for me to say I am stressed as well. So walk the walk, don't just talk the talk. So that's promoting work. My tip on promoting work-life balance. Ooh, just looking at that. I'm sorry, it's a bit hurried, and we're done. So now I think we can handle some questions now. Way past the time. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you so much, Efe. This has been very intense.
I'm sorry it was a bit rushed because of the time. I know that we all need to get some rest and there's work tomorrow. So.
We completely understand. Thank you for diving very deep. I feel like my favorite part is the first aid part, right?
Okay.
It tells you what to do, and it helps you be more aware, of other people. But sometimes when we're not experiencing those things, we sometimes don't know how to help. Most times you're about helping when you've experienced it yourself, or if you've never experienced it, it then becomes a very completely different case, right? So yeah, this has been very, very, very good. While waiting for other people on the call who have questions, there's some questions from the registration form that people fill. So someone asked if there's something an organization can put in place to help support employees. I know some of them, at least from the manager point of view, right? Yeah, but for the organization, that's like the management.
Yeah. So, there was something about that in my presentation, but I didn't have time to go through it. Yes, there are employee assistance programs that a lot of organizations are putting together right now. But I think for people who have, who it's obvious that they are struggling mentally, you can put them in touch with the therapist. Like the platform that I work with, mytherapist.ng, I'm a therapist on that platform. We have so many therapists on that platform that can deal with so many issues, be it work life, grief, relationships, and things like that. And it's very affordable. So that is a platform that a manager or a business owner can have at his or her disposal and say, oh, why don't you download this app and talk to someone? You can talk to a therapist for as low as 3,000 to 5,000 naira on mytherapist.ng for an hour. So apart from the normal EAP employee assistance program, like they give you subsidized membership to the gym, or they bring fresh foods to the office, all these are good. They are good for lifestyle changes and it's encouraging you to eat well and rest and things like that. But when it's obvious that someone is struggling mentally, it's good to give them access to these resources. I have some resources here. You can just take a picture if you want to take advantage of any of these resources. So yeah, employers can make it possible they can even put them on there are plans for organizations. They can HMO, you can put it on their HMO. You can put therapy sessions on people's HMO so that if they want to talk to a therapist, all they need to do is just make an appointment. Okay. I'm sorry? Okay. So yeah, so there are a lot of things to be done, but I think access to mental health, what's it called? Professionals, access to a mental health professional is very important, especially for people that are visibly struggling with their mental health. So struggling so much that is affecting their work. Yeah. So.
Okay, thank you. Utube said, Wishes his manager and HR can hear this. Don't worry, we'll share the report. Another question here is for questions about questions about pushing your team without burning them out. All right, someone asked here that where do you draw the line between pushing your team, trying to get them to do more than they think they're capable of, and then also trying not to burn them out. So how do you draw that line?
Well, you draw that line by applying empathy. Empathy is when you put yourself in someone else's shoes, put yourself in that employee's shoes, and think about how you would feel if you were that person. and you had to deliver on that much work in that space of time. The only way you can understand what somebody's feeling is to wear their shoes. So empathy is like figuratively wearing somebody's shoes. Let's say, for example, someone is going through a breakup, right? My friend is going through a breakup, and I see her and she's crying. Oh, I'm sympathizing with her because she's crying. She's emotionally expressing the effect of that breakup. But if I really want to know how I'm feeling, I need to imagine myself losing my significant other. I need to imagine myself going through a breakup. That's empathy. So managers just have to apply empathy. Like this person, that's why it's good to know the people that are working with you. It's good to know their strengths, knowing what their capacity, knowing what they are capable of, knowing when they are functioning at their optimal, because when you're functioning at your best, that's your best. Truly, that's your best. You can only exceed that, once in a while. You can't be expected to consistently be taking on more work because you're a human being. You need time to rest. You need time to recover from whatever stressful project that you just finished. You need time to reset your brain. So all these things you can only do if you apply. You can only appreciate it when you apply empathy. Empathy is not, oh, I'm sorry for you. We're all here to work. We know it's a business. The business needs to make money. But at the same time, this is human capital. These are people. These are people that have lives outside work. They have families. They have stressors outside work. They have stressors at home as well. And you as a manager, you also have stressors outside work. You also have your own workload to deal with. So imagine how it feels when somebody comes and dumps more on you. So the only way that a manager can actually think about how to structure work in a way that it doesn't stress people is to apply empathy. That's the best way I know how to respond to that question. You just need to apply empathy.
Okay, another question, but then before I go on with this, for people who want to connect with Efe, I'm going to drop a LinkedIn profile here now, and our blogs.
Yeah, or just go to, if you want to connect with me, like if you want to book a one-on-one session with me, just go to mytherapist.ng and search my name. You can book an appointment with me. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, Titi will provide my LinkedIn address, and Titi have my email address. There's also my email address as well.
Okay, cool.
So any other questions before we call it night?
Actually, a few more.
Okay.
A few more. I just wanted to drop your details so we don't forget.
Okay.
So how do I protect my team from the pressure from management and the board? It's a very good question.
Okay. Advocacy. Bringing the management to the table. Advocacy. Advocacy for your team. The best managers are managers that fight for their team. And we all know that fighting with the higher ups is not an easy task, right? It's not easy to fight with your superiors, but it doesn't need to be a fight. It could be a negotiation. There's always a way around, getting things done. You can get things done without burning out your entire team. And it's just a matter of advocating for yourself, advocating for your team. And how you do that is to project the benefits of allowing people to work at a certain pace or not work at a pace that they are burnt out. Like imagine if this person burns out and this person is probably the only person that can do this, but if they burn out and they have to be away from work for like a week, you know that this project is going to suffer. So why don't we just pace them, So you need to give them what's in it for them. If you're trying to sell something to someone, or if you're trying to convince somebody of someone, you need to let them know what is in it for them. Management, what is in it for management? So that's something that you need to probably go back and do some homework on. Present your case, advocate for your team. Like my team, they're hard workers, they're ready to work, but at this pace, they're going to burn out. And if they burn out, these are the implications for the project. These are the implications. You don't want high turnover. You don't want people leaving the company because they don't have time for themselves. You don't want people. So make them understand what they stand to gain and also what they stand to lose. These are business people. So put it in terms that they will understand. But at the end of the day, you are advocating for your team. So I think that's the best way to approach it.
Thank you so much, Ife. This has been a very insightful one. And thank you for your resource list. I couldn't help but take a quick screenshot. Thank you. And for everyone who wants to share, this session anonymously with their HRs and then their managers, don't worry, we'll send it to your mails, right? Or, if you're not in the community, there's a link in the chat box that I dropped. You can join in, we'll pin it there as well. So it's been a pleasure having you around. I wasn't so sure how this was going to go because this is our typical session. But I'm glad that, I have you here. And thank you so much for everyone that joined. If he's an amazing person, to connect with. So I met her at a mental health event as well. And, I could see how passionate she was about working people having a proper life. And this is the end of the year. Everybody currently, you're reviewing KPIs, you're getting ready for next year. You're looking at your work from beginning of this year. And sometimes it can get to your self-esteem. You've not had a fantastic track record. Okay, so I'm glad we're rounding up the mentoring session for the year with this session. And thank you so much to everybody that made it. Thank you so much, Ty. You're in a completely different time zone. But then you in and you stay to the end. Hi, Ty. Hi, everyone that just got from work. Hi. Hi, everyone that got from work. Courage, you've been on Keke since and then you still joined in. So we're at the end of the session already. We'll have the recording shared in the community. Join in the chat box. There's a link in the chat box for everyone that isn't there yet, and we'll send it to your emails as well. Just so that you're able to share with your managers as well. Thank you so much, Efe. Have a lovely night.
Thank you guys for having me, and I hope that this was really helpful for us.
Yes, Jen said she learned a lot, right?
I'm glad you did. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Good night. Good night. Thank you. Bye, everyone.